Most people claim that bad leadership destroys success, but Machiavelli would smirk and say it only destroys the weak. The strong, the strategic, the adaptable, they turn incompetence into fuel. They never confront stupidity head-on, because debating with the clueless is like wrestling in mud. Both end up filthy, but only the fool enjoys the mess. So instead, Machiavelli's true student, the one who understands the real mechanics of power, learns how to endure, maneuver, and win beneath the surface. Because once you can thrive under foolish rulers, no master can ever break you again. So let's begin with the first rule. Machiavelli would whisper to anyone trapped under poor leadership, never reveal that you recognize the leader's ignorance. You may think you're clever for dropping hints, for letting subtle disrespect slip out. But Machiavelli warns that fools have one unexpected talent. They're hyper-alert to anything that threatens their fragile authority. They may lack intelligence, but they're experts at sensing disrespect. The moment they suspect you see through them, they'll lash out, not because you're wrong, but because your awareness endangers the illusion they live in. Your job then isn't to correct them, it's to outlast them, to quietly grow stronger under their shadow. Incompetent leaders crave praise. Validation is their oxygen, so give it to them, but with precision. Let them believe they're directing everything while you steer events from behind the curtain. Machiavelli called this the illusion of loyalty. You appear supportive, agreeable, perhaps even admiring. But beneath that controlled obedience, you're mapping the real power structures, who actually gets things done, which channels can be avoided, and how to shape outcomes without stirring the leader's ego. Because here's the truth. Most incompetent leaders don't collapse immediately. They survive because others fear them, depend on them, or simply don't want the chaos of change. The one who ultimately surpasses them is never the loud rebel trying to expose their flaws, it's the quiet architect. The one who plans for the downfall long before it arrives, already positioned to rise when the system finally cracks. Machiavelli said that when dealing with foolish rulers, a wise man must act as if fortune could betray him at any moment. Meaning, never build your hopes on the system you're stuck in. Don't trust the leader's promises. Don't assume merit will be recognized. Don't expect rational decisions. Instead, build parallel strength, alliances, skills, and information outside the official hierarchy. Because when the incompetent sit at the top, the world still depends on those who actually keep things functioning. Find those people. They are your real network, your hidden kingdom. This is where most people fail. They waste their energy ranting, gossiping, complaining about their boss, manager, or government. Every second spent reacting emotionally is a second you're still under their control. Machiavelli would tell you to replace frustration with analysis. Observe them the way a creature studies a predator, not with anger, but with accuracy. What are their habits? What sets them off? What blunders do they repeat? Once you identify these patterns, you gain a subtle but powerful advantage, predictability. And predictability is leverage. If you know how a fool reacts, you can guide them into decisions they believe are their own, while you're the one shaping their options. Let them feel dominant while you quietly direct the path they walk. Machiavelli understood that the most effective manipulation isn't force, it's suggestion. You never shove a fool. You let their arrogance pull them into the place you want them. Think of it like a chess match where your opponent is convinced he's playing checkers. Correct him and he'll overturn the board. Agree with him and you'll checkmate him without ever raising your voice. Those who survive under foolish rule understand that silence is their shield. Every unnecessary word is a potential liability. Let others expose themselves with emotion. You remain calm. Because in chaotic hierarchies, composure is mistaken for authority. And slowly, almost naturally, people begin to defer to you, not because of your title, but because you appear to be the only stable mind among the noise. This is Machiavelli's redefinition of survival. Not hiding, not surrendering, but mastering calculated invisibility. You appear harmless until harm can no longer reach you. You let fools underestimate you because their underestimation is your freedom. And here is a deeper truth. Machiavelli didn't see incompetent leaders as curses. He saw them as training grounds, challenges designed to sharpen your ability to lead without being recognized as a leader. Under wise leadership, everything is simple, guidance is clear, support is steady. But under foolish leadership, you are forced to self-govern, to think ahead, to influence without credit. And when the downfall finally comes, because incompetence always collapses, the person everyone naturally turns to will be you. He'd say, if you want to rise in a corrupt court, don't attack corruption directly. Become indispensable inside it. Provide solutions quietly. Let others claim your ideas. Let the leader feel clever for approving them. Over time, you become the skeleton of the system, the one everyone depends on but no one fears. And when the incompetent falter, it won't be rebellion that elevates you, it will be instinct. People will already trust your unseen guidance. That's power through patience. Machiavelli called it the art of timing, knowing when to endure and when to strike. Fortune, he said, is like a river. When calm, prepare. When wild, adapt. The fool's chaos isn't your barrier, it's your camouflage. While they chase applause, you gather influence. While they create noise, you create strategy. But Machiavelli warned of one danger, the temptation of believing you're morally above the fools you study. That superiority is a trap. The moment you presume you're immune to stupidity, you fall victim to a different form of it, your own pride. The Machiavellian mind doesn't condemn stupidity, it capitalizes on it. Every flaw, every blind spot, every gap in leadership becomes a source of leverage. Let me paint a scenario. Imagine you're working under a leader who constantly shifts directions, who loves novelty, despises structure, and rewards theatrics. The average person becomes irritated and wastes energy trying to fix their superior. But the Machiavellian thinker adjusts. It bends with the disorder. It learns to package old ideas as new ones, reshaping the familiar into something that seems innovative. It satisfies the fool's craving for excitement, while keeping the real control anchored in stability. That's how you win inside chaos, by becoming the only steady rhythm in the storm. But there's a fine line between surviving dysfunction and becoming part of it. Machiavelli never encouraged you to abandon integrity. He urged you to master perception. You can function among fools without ever turning into one. You can play your role on the surface while staying loyal to your true standards underneath. The secret is detachment, not emotional detachment, but ego detachment. You stop seeking approval from the leader. Once you no longer need their validation, you become untouchable. Because what truly destroys people under bad leadership isn't incompetence, it's humiliation. The sense that their talent is invisible, that their intelligence is wasted. But Machiavelli would whisper, you're not here to be acknowledged, you're here to ascend. Recognition arrives only after the fool is replaced. Their reign is temporary, but only if you survive long enough to inherit what they're busy breaking. He'd remind you, when fools rule, talent hides, because talent understands that visibility draws envy. Let others chase the spotlight. You chase endurance. There will come a moment when everyone grows desperate for someone who can actually repair the damage. If you've been preparing quietly, that moment becomes your coronation. This is why Machiavelli's students never panic when encircled by incompetence. They analyze it. Because stupidity is predictable, and predictability is the root of control. The more foolish the leader, the easier it becomes to forecast their destruction. Your task is simply to stand precisely where the crown will fall. But Machiavelli also warned against another trap, the seduction of rebellion. When you know you're sharper, it's tempting to expose, confront, or dramatically break free. Don't. Fools feed on conflict. They convert confrontation into theater. You cannot out-argue a performer. You can only outlast them. Quiet rebellion is far more effective than loud defiance. It looks like cooperation, but it feels like chess. Every yes you offer moves you another square closer to checkmate. So remember, under idiotic leadership, don't aim to win their approval, aim to outlive their rule. Because nothing humiliates a fool more than watching. The person they dismissed become the one everyone else now relies on. And the most Machiavellian revenge isn't revenge at all, it's relevance. Machiavelli's teachings aren't about escape, they're about evolution. He'd say, if you cannot lead, learn from those who cannot either. Bad leadership exposes truths that good leadership hides. It shows you how systems actually deteriorate, how people behave under pressure, how loyalty shifts, how narratives are shaped. Learn that, and you'll never be naive again. You'll never misread power once you've seen its failures up close. And when you finally rise, you won't be just another leader. You'll be one who understands every flaw that destroys leaders, because you've lived through those flaws in silence. You endured unseen, mastering the craft of invisible dominance until the field cleared. You survived their foolishness so long that the crowd eventually stopped laughing and started getting tired. And exhaustion transforms people. When fatigue spreads, they stop caring about charisma and begin craving competence. That's when you step into the open, but not with speeches or dramatic rebellion, with results. You've been building systems quietly, cultivating relationships carefully, collecting knowledge relentlessly. While everyone else was mesmerized by the fool's theatrics, you were accumulating the keys to the kingdom. This is the part Machiavelli would delight in most, winning without waging war. When the throne drops into your hands, not because you demanded it, but because no one else can hold it. This is the essence of surviving idiocy, turning frustration into foresight. The clever waste years, resenting incompetent leaders. The wise spend those years preparing to replace them. But there's another layer Machiavelli would insist you understand. Under foolish leadership, hierarchy becomes psychological, not logical. It's no longer about who works hardest or thinks smartest. It becomes about who manages perception best. The incompetent rule through illusion. And your mission isn't to shatter that illusion too soon. It's to surpass it. This doesn't mean deception for cruelty's sake. It means mastering optics. How you appear often outweighs what you accomplish, especially under foolish rulers. They hunger for visible signs of loyalty, smiles, small compliments, agreement in meetings. Offer them these symbols, but secretly preserve your inner compass. Keep a private vault, separating what you display from what you understand. Machiavelli would caution that those who speak every truth they perceive rarely survive in courts of power. It's those who choose which truths to reveal, and when, who eventually govern the court. There's an art to it. When a fool issues a bad directive, don't oppose them outright. Ask guiding questions that subtly lead them toward reconsideration, while allowing them to believe the insight was their own. That's an excellent thought, you might say. What if we also explored, and then you introduce the smarter option? They claim the credit, but observers notice that their best decisions always seem shaped by your influence. And when they inevitably create chaos, don't rush to clean it instantly. Timing matters. Let the problem become visible enough that others recognize it, but not so extreme that it harms you. Then step in, solve it swiftly, quietly. Machiavelli called this the power of rescue. People admire the one who saves them, not the one who predicted the disaster. Fools never appreciate prophets, they only celebrate saviors. And that's how you gain trust without triggering insecurity. You become the steady presence, who always knows how to restore order when everything unravels. You don't chase respect, it forms around you naturally. Others begin coming to you first, even before approaching the leader. And you never flaunt it. You let them see it on their own. Fools destroy themselves trying to appear intelligent, while the Machiavellian mind never wastes energy proving anything. Its strength lies in precision, not performance. Let the leader give 10 speeches, you make one decisive move. Let them chase applause, you chase position. The less you speak, the more power your silence gains. Eventually, even the most deluded leader begins to sense a pattern. They feel your influence not as a direct threat, but as something inevitable. They notice that things function when you're involved, and unravel when you're absent. Some will grow suspicious, others will become dependent. Both reactions serve your advantage. The paranoid reveal their fear, the dependent grant you authority. When you understand both, you cannot lose. But here's the subtle truth. Machiavelli would insist you remember, your mission isn't only to survive bad leadership, it's to sharpen your power through it. Emerging from such environments makes you stronger than those who never face them. You learn patience sharper than any blade, discipline heavier than any army. It's like training in darkness. When the light finally returns, your vision is unmatched. And this may be difficult to accept, but sometimes the incompetence above you is exactly the test the universe assigns to determine whether you deserve to lead. Anyone can claim they're ready for power, but only those who've endured its worst forms truly know how to wield it. How you carry yourself during these moments reveals the depth of your discipline. Do you collapse into bitterness, or do you quietly construct your empire beneath their noise? Machiavelli said it brilliantly. He who builds on people builds on mud. He who builds on fools builds on mountains, because fools are predictable. The crowd's loyalty shifts with emotion, but the idiot's behavior repeats like a script. Once you decode that pattern, you can exploit it endlessly. Predictability is the one gift incompetence offers the intelligent. So while they live chaotically, you live with rhythm. You learn when to nod, when to speak, when to disappear. You manage your visibility with surgical precision. Under foolish rule, timing becomes power. Speak too soon and you're an enemy. Speak too late and you're irrelevant. But speak exactly as things crumble and you become the solution. This is what separates the Machiavellian from the merely clever. There's another layer most people overlook. Surviving fools isn't just external warfare, it is internal combat. You must silence the part of yourself that wants to scream, expose, humiliate, or prove something. That impulse is the fool within you, waiting to sabotage the strategist. Machiavelli's genius wasn't only manipulation, it was emotional mastery. He'd tell you that in corrupt environments, the most dangerous emotion isn't anger or hatred, it's moral outrage. Outrage makes you loud, loudness makes you visible, and visibility under foolish rule is fatal. So you practice restraint as if it were a sacred discipline. You let them believe they've won arguments. You smile while they speak nonsense. You shift your tone but not your principles. And then you wait. Every empire of incompetence eventually burns itself down. You simply need to be the one holding the fireproof blueprint. And when it finally collapses, when the fool crumbles under the weight of their own stupidity, don't gloat. Step in with grace. Help rebuild. Don't boast. Don't remind anyone that you predicted it. Let others say it for you. Let history whisper what you carried in silence. You endured where everyone else shattered, because in the end, Machiavelli's lesson isn't centered on cruelty or deceit. It's about self-mastery in chaos. It's the understanding that life will often place you beneath those less capable, less aware, less deserving. And you have two choices: curse their stupidity or use it. Fools are not obstacles. They are mirrors reflecting who you become in their presence. You can grow bitter under them or become powerful because of them. That is the real victory, not merely surviving the idiots above you, but emerging from that survival so disciplined, so unshakable, that no future fool can ever disturb your peace again. And when that peace arrives, you'll realize something unexpected. You don't even resent them anymore. You've outgrown them. What once felt like oppression now feels like training. Every condescending tone, every irrational demand, every forced smile shaped you into someone they themselves could never be. You became patient without becoming passive, strategic without becoming cruel, detached without becoming cold. You learned the rarest form of power. Mastery over yourself in a world filled with people who can't even control their own impulses. Machiavelli would call this the highest form of dominance. True strength isn't revealed in overthrowing others. It's revealed in enduring what destroys them. It's the ability to make small, subtle moves that appear accidental but shift everything. The fool seeks power so others admire them. The wise seek power so no one can ever control them again. That's the ultimate transformation, turning every insult, every absurd decision, every wasted meeting into silent momentum toward your own independence. And the day will come when you no longer need their approval, their system, or their name. You'll have your own, Because Machiavelli never intended for you to serve fools forever. He wanted you to study them until you no longer needed any master at all. Their leadership shows you how power decays. Your survival teaches you how to rebuild it. But there's one final trap: revenge. As soon as you gain power, you'll feel the temptation to humiliate them, to release the words you swallowed for years. But Machiavelli would shake his head. That isn't power, that's relapse. If you humiliate them, you fall back into their game. The true Machiavellian victory is quiet replacement, not loud retaliation. You don't prove them wrong, you make them irrelevant. You don't destroy them, you become everything they couldn't. Because nothing punishes a fool more than witnessing your calm success while they fade into insignificance. When those who once feared them now turn to you with respect, not because you demanded it, but because you earned it in silence, your rise becomes undeniable. By the time they realize that every moment you appeared patient, you were building empires behind their backs, it's already far too late. Their collapse becomes your coronation. That's the beauty of restraint. It doesn't simply protect you, it weaponizes time. It allows your silence to ripen into evidence. Every Machiavellian understands that time is the most dangerous ally. It exposes fools, rewards endurance, and buries arrogance effortlessly. All you must do is stay long enough for it to complete its work. So if you find yourself trapped beneath incompetent leadership right now, don't curse your position. Analyze it. Learn from it. Practice excellence without drawing attention. Build alliances quietly. Keep records of everything. Own your craft until replacing you becomes impossible. Let them believe they're steering the ship while you're already constructing the blueprint for what comes after them. That isn't submission, it's strategy. You may feel powerless, but in reality, you've been granted the greatest advantage of all, the protection of invisibility. No one expects brilliance from the obedient, and that is your sharpest weapon. Because when the moment comes for you to move, no one will anticipate it. Remember, Machiavelli's game was never about appearing powerful. It was about becoming indispensable. Make yourself so essential, so dependable, so consistently effective that when their regime begins to shake, everyone already knows who can stabilize it. Power shifts not through declarations, but through subtle recognition. And if there's one rule you should carve into your thinking, it's this. You don't defeat fools by out-talking them. You defeat them by outlasting them. Chaos fades, but competence endures. Let their noise dominate the space. It will only magnify your silence when the time comes for it to matter. So you persist, you wait. You prepare not with bitterness or discouragement, but with steady confidence. Because while fools chase the spotlight, the Machiavellian walks toward legacy. And when that legacy stands complete, no one will even remember the idiots who once imagined they ruled over him.